Were they trying to imply that Philip is Shaddiq's father? I don't think they're really going that route, but it's like, that's the only blue-eye, brown-haired character that I know in the story, and it's sort of implied that he was about to say that, unlike you, I've lost my entire family, or something like that, and he just really wanted to sacrifice himself to get, so nobody else felt the same pain that he did. But still, it's like, are they going that route? I don't think so, but still. Great episode. Fantastic episode. Hey guys, Ghoul's still alive. Ghoul's still alive. This dude is like a cockroach. He just kind of scurries up every now and then here and there. This dude's just all over the place. I almost feel like Ghoul Jector is just kind of the character to show all sides of the battlefield. If we need to know what's happening over here, he's on a cargo ship for some reason. He's over here. Dude's going through a lot, though. Honestly, I really feel like there's 3 major sections in this episode. One being the fact that Gil obviously has to sort of recover from the loss of his father. Not just the loss of his father, but the fact that he's the one that, dealt the killing blow. But additionally, the idea that he's finding some sort of purpose, and that purpose being in, oh, you said our company's going bankrupt. What are you talking about? Like, this is the only tie I have left. And I think he's kind of clawing onto that. Normally, he wouldn't care. I mean, he had a chance of actually taking over the company and everything. He doesn't really care about the company. It's just this aspect of, this is the last thing that I have, this legacy that my father had. I need to make sure that this survives. I destroyed my father, but I'll make sure that his company continues on. And yes, technically for the sake of his family as well. He obviously cares for his family. He tried really hard to be a good boy. He tried so hard to save that girl that tried to kill him. But unfortunately... But no, he was pretty much in the scurry of us getting a better perspective of the people of the Earth, or at least the rebellion groups that are on Earth. The Dawn of Fold. And I was really kind of waiting for this moment to happen, and we had a brief vision of it when Shaddiq was first setting up the big plan attack, but not really getting a viewpoint of the people, their struggles, obviously the fact that they have their own families that they care about, they're trying to keep safe. But it seems like, obviously, the bigger picture is that Shaddiq himself is feeding into this. Shaddiq was an Earthian, and he was brought into Sarius's family. And we got pretty much a clear idea of what Shaddiq wants in this episode. I'm not 100% on it, but it seems pretty clear. Again, we knew that Shaddiq didn't want to just take over the company. He wanted to take over Benerit. And that's what I'll say in the last episode impressions. He has a bigger goal in mind, not just to run their family's company. He wants the whole Benerit company. And it goes even larger than that, as usual, in that it doesn't just want the Benerit company. He wants to sell all of its assets to the Earthians. He wants the Earthians to hold the power to these companies. Typically in Gundam, the one that holds the most powerful mobile suit / Gundam is the one that holds power. And it's the same with this world. These are the toughest and most incredible machines of war possible. And so if the Earthians control it, have all the assets, have the ownership, don't come knocking on our door anymore. Don't come doing your proxy battles on our land anymore. Don't use us as a battlefield. Don't use us for labor. Come to us for everything. And that's what I'm gathering Shaddiq is doing, which is interesting in contrast to what technically Delling was doing. As we see at the very end of the episode, Delling was technically doing the same thing, not trying to give power to the Earthians, but he was at least trying to alleviate the suffering of those that are destroyed by war. Yes, Delling was a soldier. We established that in the first episode. People of the Benerit group didn't like Delling stepping into their territory because he was a soldier. He wasn't a businessman. But the main key thing was, yes, solidifying the fact that he himself lost many comrades and seen the destructions of war, specifically the Gundams, that it took away so many of their soldiers. But in the broader sense, he wanted to stop the wars. And he felt like his soon-to-be wife, which ended up being his wife, had some idea in order to essentially prevent that. And that ended up being quite zero. Now, the interesting thing is that they kind of specify that he was supporting her project and they were building it up. In the meantime, he actually put a lot of other things into play as well. Obviously stopping the gun arm technologies, but additionally, they were talking about how they were partitioning the war. I have no idea what a partitioning of a war is. I apologize. I even Google searched it. I have no idea what a war partitioning is. I know what partitioning is, and I know what war is. I don't know what war partitioning is. So all I can think of is that he was at least, I guess, dividing the wars out, trying to separate them out so there's not a grander scale war. Like letting off the steam here and here and here and here rather than having one big explosion. That's all I can really think of as they're talking about, which makes sense. Downscaling the wars, trying to keep them at bay with each other, and that makes sense. You can also say it has something to do with the Benneret group itself, allowing the Benneret group to function as a grouping of companies rather than one person having full power, which could possibly lead into the idea of how he was stopping the gun arm technology, knowing full well that could be a majority holder. But it kind of sort of feeds into the idea that what Shaddiq is doing currently is something that technically Delling was trying to do as well. They have different causes for wanting that. One being Shaddiq was an Earthian and didn't like being in a battlefield, and Delling is just trying to stop the wars. Stop the death of his comrades. But yes, it does kind of humanize Delling quite a bit, which we all kind of assume at this point because of how things are kind of sprinkling in there, and Murin's learning more and more about him being not just a lousy father. But we'll see if Shaddiq gets what he wants. Like I said, basically trying to bestow all power to the Earthians. I don't know necessarily how that can really change things quickly. I think there's such a long period of time of the Spatians sort of keeping the Earthians so at bay and so locked down that I don't know that they can rise that quickly. But obviously, in the end, like I said, it's going to turn to a big war. We all know it's going to turn to a massive big war. Gundam, it's going to be a war. Obviously, the big question mark is going to be is, how does the Dominicus actually going to respond to this whole thing? Obviously, it seems like Cathedra is sort of manipulating them and telling them, hey, we need to chill, we'll handle it kind of situation. Like, they're still keeping this mindset that we're a company and we'll handle it within the company, don't worry about it. And it almost feels like everything's going to shift like crazy within the proxies and the setup of the world and the powers and everything. And Dominicus is going to be standing on the sideline going, well, they said not to get involved, so we're just going to wait until the dust settles and whatever government still stands, we'll just step in. I don't know. But no, I kind of skipped past it, but I am kind of interested to see exactly what the Quiet Zero thing is. We had Murin obviously confronting, I think that was the guy of the Cathedra, and he talked in a little bit detail about the relationship between Delling and her mother and the idea that she had this project Quiet Zero, and specifically that it was she was a botanical engineer, and she was essentially trying to look into plant survival, like the strategies that plants use in order to survive, and trying to apply that to humanity. That's a big, broad stroke. So I don't know what really theories I can really jump into with that as it applies to humans themselves. I mean, it could be the idea that they root themselves so well, how they photosynthesize, how they spread their seeds, how they adapt to their environment so well, because plants really do a good job of adapting. There's a million possibilities. I guess the most warped one could possibly be the idea of seeds. The idea that if Quiet Zero, our whole perspective of that is its ability to control other machines around it. And we're talking about the idea that Sueta has this high potential that is more than what Quiet Zero needs. So there's a possibility that if this system, if it's like a plant and we're going to apply the aspect of seeds to it, the idea that whatever she controls, she doesn't just control it when it's there within range and she tells it what to do. She plants code within it. And so if Sueta has more potential with Ariel, she can then plant seeds universal wide. And thus, essentially control everything, not piece by piece, but rather plant code within each one of them to function. Let's say Erict in Ariel is a code, and they broadcast from Quiet Zero into all of these machines, and it plants Erict within each and every single one of them. Thus, Erict is be able to become friends with everybody because she'll be in all the machines and be able to control everything. That's my wild idea. Again, plant survival strategies it's a broad stroke. I'm sure there's some crazy plant otaku out there that's got a million theories. But I do like how it kind of ends that conversation with Murin, even though I don't think she's going to actually apply it. And this idea that she keeps downing the fact that she's unnecessary, that she is a tool. She keeps hitting on that, and the guy's kind of just throwing it back in her face like, no, that's not really how it is. Oh, so they got married out of convenience. No, I mean, he's carrying on her vision despite the fact that she's dead and he's nearly dead. Well, they're marrying me off because they want me into a wealthy family and I'm just a tool. No, you are your own life. Follow your heart. He's doing this. He's going to keep doing this. Do what you want to do. Like, it keeps hitting this idea that Mjolnir always has this perspective that her father is using her, she's just a tool, and she's never necessary, she's just there as a strategy tool, and she has to be constantly reminded, no, it's kind of for your benefit. Chop that up with the fact that Delling sucks at communicating with his daughter, but even still, she is her own life. And Delling will do what he promised his wife, but Mjolnir's able to do whatever she wants. But again, we all know that Mjolnir's going to turn around and say, okay, well, I'm going to help father do what mother wanted. There's no way in heck she's going to walk away from what her legacy that her mother was leaving behind, even if it is possibly perverted by what Delling changed it into, which I'm still sticking to. Yeah, I completely skipped it, but the opening scene, I completely forgot about the opening scene. The last scene that I really have to talk about is the opening scene, which of course is Nika being beat the crap out of by Norie. Obviously upset that Sophie's dead, blaming it on Nika, which I don't understand. You guys did it yourself. Nothing about what Nika did on that comms caused Sophie to die. You guys opened up a battlefield, and then she ran out there and overused herself to get to Sweta. Nothing that happened in that scene had anything to do with what Nika did. It was Sophie going after Sweta, and she was going to do that either way. I like that aspect. But no, obviously, you could sort of agree with Norie in the idea that, yes, all these people down on Earth that are now being hunted down is because of Nika. But this is this kind of hypocrisy that is kind of created over this compounding situation after situation. Nika was in that situation. Nika was inside of that. She was brought to here with a fake name, thanks to Shadiq. She became a part of their little plan, and every step that she took within this in order to retain her identity and stay there was compounding this effort to create this war or this overthrow. And no matter what, she's going to have blood on her hands. If she stays there and keeps helping them, blood will be on her hands as they enact this plan. If she cuts out, she's going to cause blood. It's going to happen either way. And Norie believes that her ideals got them killed. Despite the fact that Nika fires back on the idea that, look, if all you guys do is kill and kill and kill, nobody's going to listen to you. In her thoughts, what Shadiq is doing isn't going to make everybody go hunky-dory for the Earthians to take control of everything. Because they took control with blood on their hands. And that's something that's never going to leave the minds of the Spatians, no matter how you cut it. Overthrowing by power will cause power to overthrow you. An equal and opposite reaction, so to speak. But yeah, it was not a pleasant scene to watch her get the crap beat out of her. As much as I love Aoyuki, I didn't want to see that whole scene. I don't think that's the end of Olcott. I think Olcott was a really good kind of example of somebody that is... He used to be a Dominicus, and at some point he was against their ideals, and then was betrayed by Earthians, is at least what they're kind of saying, and he lost his family due to it. So he almost seems like the perfect person that's a neutral party. He doesn't like either side. He lost his family to Earthians, and he doesn't like Dominicus, at least. And Dominicus is sort of government applied, and then also technically being manipulated by the Benneret group. So they're sort of Spatian Benneret group type of faction. So I feel like he's almost a perfect person to be in the middle. And I think he's going to run into Gilad eventually. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks button down below. I greatly appreciate it. Support the channel, and y'all take care.